Right, folks, welcome on the show now is the gentleman in question from Buck and Evans, and that is Mr. Chris Buck. Welcome to Rockposer Roulette.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dan.
It's my pleasure, Chris. As we said before we came on air, I guiltily was not aware of your talent until I was tipped off by Mr. Rick Hughes, actually, on this very programme. Because, of course, the two of you collaborated on the Kiss tribute album, World with Heroes.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was a great experience. But as the kind of modern world provides, really an equally bizarre experience because I'm working with someone who I've not actually met and I've only spoken to through email. So kind of I get used to it these days with such email correspondence. But it was a really cool experience. So.
Well, it has to be said, a lot of these collaborations now between artists, I say, it's because of the joys of the interweb. Hardly anybody ever meets up anymore.
Yeah, I know it's a blessing and a curse all in one. I think the art of social contact dying, but it makes collaborating with someone in Canada infinitely easier. So,
Well, when you're saying blessing and curse, for me, a curse would be maybe if you're not all together in the studio, maybe I don't know, maybe an emotive or emotional contact isn't made. So maybe that the feeling's not always the same in a recording.
No, definitely. I can see where you're coming from. I think for me, the best way of recording anything is as live as humanly possible, and obviously, there's a lot of studios that don't necessarily, facilitate that, and it's a bit of a nightmare to kind of do. But I think you capture the essence of a live band a hell of a lot better if you're kind of doing it in the truest sense, which is live. And obviously kind of this limitations with the Kiss tribute in that Rick was the best part of about 5,000-6,000 miles away, so you kind of make do with what you can. But I think ultimately the best way to kind of do anything is as accurately as possible, which is as nature intended.
I mean, recording live stuff. I mean, I've had people on the show. We talked about live albums, etc., and obviously some of them are horrendous, some are well produced. But it seems to be that people are almost at a point now when they forget what it's like to actually listen to a proper live performance, and they suddenly want it almost overproduced. And well, yes, but it doesn't sound like the album. Well, no, it doesn't because it's a live performance.
No, I think that's half the kind of pleasure of live performances for me. Really, I love going to gigs and I love seeing something different than I'm used to listening on the album. I think that's half the pleasure is seeing a good live band who can kind of go off a little bit or jam or I think that's the ultimate pleasure for me is going out and seeing a live band that are obviously very, very good musicians and kind of have that interaction between one another where you get something that you wouldn't have ordinarily expected and is different each night. So I think that's the essence of a live band for me, really.
Well, speaking of things that are unexpected, I mean, having heard the track that you did with Rick, I just assumed that you were a rock guitarist until, of course, I stumbled across the Buck and Evans website and heard the music there and promptly bought the EP. And what a fabulous slab of blues it is.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I got to say, it's a good job it's not a record because I probably would have worn it out by now.
No, thank you very much again. I really appreciate it. It's, hopefully there will be a record in the pipeline very quickly. I mean, as I was saying earlier, we're a relatively new outfit. I mean, we've been together probably best part of about 3, 4, 5 months, maybe. Losing track, but kind of again the way it all came together was quite unique and quite bizarre, as these things tend to be. And before I knew it, I found myself in a kind of band that was absolutely great fun to be in. It's great fun to write with, and Sally Ann, the singer, is just very intuitive to work with, and kind of if a track kind of needs to go somewhere, she's on top of it straight away, and kind of helping the kind of best come out of the music. So yeah, it's great fun. So I mean, the EP was recorded at a point when pretty much we only had 3 tracks to our name. So obviously the EP is the 3 tracks that we'd written and the only 3 we had at that point. But so I'm glad it's coming across well. There's always a danger that if you record the first 3 tracks that you've written, odds are they're probably going to be the 3 worst that you write in time. But no, I'm glad it's getting. Glad you appreciate it.
Well, I mean, Sally Ann is her vocals are absolutely superb. I really, really love her voice. I mean, for those of you who haven't been over on the website, I mean, to quote the description on your website, imagine if Eric Clapton sat with Mama Cass or Joe Bonamassa and Wilson, and that's a high thing to say, but you guys pull it off. It has to be said.
Thank you. That quote, bizarrely, is actually from Mitch Lafon, the guy who kind of the Kiss tribute was his brainchild. So that's he's very kindly put his neck out on the line there. But if we're delivering, that's all the better.
So how did you and Sally Ann get together?
Like I said, it was a bit of a chance meeting, really. I mean, I'd worked with her in the past, but in a completely different capacity. She actually runs an events organisation company, which had booked my previous band. She booked a couple of shows.
Right.
She runs a very kind of successful festival here as well, locally, called the Steelhouse Festival.
Oh, of course.
Which kind of started off kind of relatively small and has grown to the extent where they had Michael Schenker and kind of Reef and Feeder having played it in recent years. So so she kind of has an entirely successful another avenue. But after the split of my last band, she got in touch with me and asked me to do a gig with her, and like, I never kind of experienced her being behind the microphone. She's usually the one, back in the crowd, organising it, making sure nothing happens untoward. But she gave me a call and said, if you're up for it, come along. And I went along to practice, and she absolutely blew me away. I'd never heard her sing before, and she's just got an incredible voice. I really don't know where it comes from. It's just such a soul-drenched kind of blues voice, and absolutely perfect for the kind of stuff that I like and the stuff that I write. And I think it seemed too good to be true, and too good an opportunity to turn down, really. So we started writing stuff together, and before you know it, Buck and Evans is kind of off the ground and the EP is recorded. So yeah, it's been a really quick, painless experience, which is a lot more that can be said for the formation of most bands, I think. So.
But that's probably a good thing, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, down the years, I've been through a couple of painful experiences of trying to find singers, trying to find drummers, bass players. It's invariably a kind of drawn out painful experience. So not to have this happen so quickly and so intuitively was great fun and really kind of liberating. So,
I mean, going forward from the EP, I'm guessing you guys must be working on an album.
Yeah, we are. I think that's the kind of next milestone, is to kind of get enough tracks together, get an album together. And I mean, like I said earlier, we're in no particular rush, really. I mean, you can't rush these things, and you can't necessarily put a time scale on them. So
sure.
And I've had it drilled into me from my management since a very early age that it's better to have 15, 16 very strong tracks and have to whittle those down to 10, 11. Because then not only have you got the best of your writing up until this point, but then you've got some left back in the larder for the next record, which hopefully there will be. So looking very far into the future, planning the second record before the first. But just there's no time scale on it, and we're writing constantly. We're rehearsing a couple of times a week, and new songs are coming out of every rehearsal, which is a fantastic thing at the moment. It's really invigorating to kind of go to rehearsal and come away with something that none of you would necessarily expected 2 hours earlier. So at the moment, we should be ready by next week to do a record. But no, joking aside, I think sometime next year, hopefully. So
cool. Well, I say, speaking of management, I'm guessing a lot of the people listening to this will be very much aware of the gentleman who is part of your management team, and that is, of course, Mr. Alan Niven.
Yeah, Alan. To cut a very long story short, when I was about 15, 16, I started sticking videos of myself on YouTube, just playing my guitar in my room and just jamming along to Cream, any clap and track I get hold of, Stevie Ray Vaughan, whatever. Just jamming along to it basically, and out of the the millions of guitarists on YouTube that are probably infinitely more talented than I am, Heather, Alan's wife, just happened to stumble across me playing and coerced Alan into watching, and it's been a relationship that blossomed ever since. And I mean, for the first couple of years of our kind of contact, I was just picking his brains constantly, kind of trying to get out of him, the do's and the don'ts. And obviously, he's someone who's been there, bought the T-shirt, and been incredibly successful with a lot of bands. So. Yeah, he's a great guy, and as is Heather, his wife. So yeah, the first couple of years was just kind of picking his brains, and then when my first kind of proper band, Tom the Trio, got off the ground, he very kindly offered to manage us, and it's been a relationship that's blossomed ever since. And even after the demise of the trio, he flew me straight over to Phoenix to record my sort of debut solo record. It's they've both of them, him and his wife Heather, who managed me, have just been absolutely nothing but supportive from the word go. So I owe them a hell of a lot.
Well, one thing I have brought up on many an occasion, and I'll bring up with your good self, is it's great to see such an influx of young British blues guitarists.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really thriving genre at the moment.
It is. I mean, when I've spoken to the people from the States, I say I had the fantastic Michael Caton on show, and we were talking about the blues scene in America being pretty much stifled, I think will probably be the best word. And the fact why guys like himself and Walter Trout, to name only two, come over to the UK and Europe because this is where the scene is alive and they can actually get paying gigs.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's like I said, an incredibly vibrant, thriving genre at the moment, which is a kind of nothing but good for the blues. Really, I mean, it's kind of a style of music that I think the moment you say kind of blues to people, it's going to be pretty divisive or polarizing. It's either going to kind of turn them off straight away. It's kind of old man's music that nobody really wants to listen to anymore, or it's I think the fantastic thing about the blues is that the fans you have got are immensely kind of dedicated and very kind of faithful to kind of bands they've picked up on. So ordinarily, I mean, if you've got a genre that is kind of overactive as such, it kind of creates a situation where you can't necessarily see the wood for the trees. But I think in terms of blues, I think the more people you've got doing it well, the better it is for it. So.
I mean, I'm always fighting against that view of it being old man's music. Always saying to people, dip your toe in the water because there's probably something in there that you'll like. It's I mean, what is it? The old joke about the blues: if you play it backwards, your dog doesn't die and your wife comes back to you. But It's far from it. I mean, obviously, people like Joe Bonamassa, etc., have helped raise the profile to probably a level it hasn't been for many a year.
No, definitely. I think again, the more people you have doing it well, and the more people you have bringing it in the 21st century, the better. And it's like you said, it's kind of music that kind of turns a lot of people off. I think at the moment they hear the word blues, it's something that they're kind of not interested in. But I mean, ultimately, kind of looking at it from a kind of pseudo intellectual kind of point of view, it's kind of the music of disenfranchised really, and it's always going to be relevant and it's always going to have a place in today's society. So I think the more people you've got kind of doing it well and kind of bringing it kicking and screaming in today's kind of music, then the better really. So
I think one of the things is obviously yourself being a fine example is that a lot of sort of the blues guitarists now also do rock as well. And the fact that they can do both, I always think that a blues guitarist can always play rock, but rock guitarists can't always play blues.
No, definitely. I think, again, I don't know whether it's actually a genuine quote or something, but I read a Hendrix quote recently where he said the blues is very easy to play, but very hard to play well. And I think it's, rings true. I think it's kind of, be careful where I step, but it's kind of easy to string a couple of notes together in a kind of rock sense and add a bit of overdrive to it. And then, before you know it, you've got your archetypal rock sound. But I think there's a lot more to kind of blues playing and, kind of someone like Joe Bonamassa, for my money, is doing it very well in that kind of he can kind of flick between Black Country Communion and his kind of blues stuff and, be very genuine and very convincing at both, and be a fantastic guitarist, obviously. So yeah, it's hard to kind of do with the blues, and I'm by no stretch saying I'm a master of it or anything. It's something that I'm still, in the grand scheme of things, dipping my toe into. But I think it's one of those things that you kind of have a bit of a kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of derogatory view of the blues, that it's kind of you can find a kind of little flurry of notes and that's pretty much it, and that's all you can kind of do. But I think there's a lot more to it for my money.
I think there's a hell of a lot more to it. I mean, what people need to realise is it's very much like rock music in the fact there is about 14 million subgenres if you want to go down the pigeonholing route. I mean, personally, I tend towards lean towards, shall we say, the darker side rather than the bluegrass side, but I'm sure there's something in there for everybody. I always impress on people, do dip your toe in, and do pop over to obviously the Buck and Evans website, which is www.buckandevans.com, where you can hear samples from the EP and of course buy said EP as well.
Yeah, definitely. Swing on by and see if there's anything that catches your fancy.
And obviously now you've also got the official video is now out on YouTube.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, as of last Monday. So, at time of talking, if I've got my past tense right, anyway. But the video was up and live, and I mean, kind of the video was recorded pretty much just live at the place of our rehearsal. Really, there's no kind of kind of pretense of a love plot kind of swinging in the background or anything. It's just pretty much a straight rehearsal video of us kind of going for it, and which was the way I wanted the EP to sound, and hopefully I wanted the way of the video to look. It's just us live. So swing on by and hope you enjoy it. The track is called Going Home, and it's on YouTube now. So.
Well, I'll say that. I mean, there is a real warmth and emotion to the EP.
Thank you.
Not only with Sally Ann's vocals, but with your guitar playing as well. I mean, is there a particular technique that you use to get that particular sound, or?
Well, thank you very much, first and foremost. I guess it kind of all boils down to kind of my influences and the people I've grown up listening to. And
right.
I mean, from a very early age, I've been drawn to Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan and kind of Albert King. And I think these are people that kind of, generally speaking, are the master of the understatement. And Clapton especially, I think there's a kind of notorious quote, which I think Clapton himself has actually dispelled that he never actually said it, but I think it still rings true, is that it's not so much the notes you do play as the notes you don't. And it's just kind of, be sympathetic to the music and never kind of overplay, just kind of do what you think is right. And I guess a lot of it kind of boils down to instincts and kind of your own personal taste. So yeah, if I'm doing that and it's sounding warm, that's fantastic. So thank you very much.
That's right, my pleasure. Well, hopefully we'll see you guys out on the road fairly soon. I hope that you'll be heading down the Beaverwood Club way. That way I get a chance to see you guys live.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got a couple of dates lined up before the end of the year, kind of mainly kind of Welsh dates, hopefully some London dates coming up as well. But definitely within the next couple of months of next year, we'll be hitting as much of the UK as we physically can, and hopefully further and beyond. So yeah, definitely would love to be down at the Beaverwood pretty soon. So
well, Chris, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time out to chat to me today. I say, guys, do go and check out the EP. As you know from my well-founded opinion that I don't say things by halves. If I like to say, my God, I do shout about it. And do go and check it out, because I don't think those of you I haven't already bored shitless with the EP. If you haven't heard it, do go and have a listen. And Chris, thanks ever so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers now. Bye-bye.